Greetings, fellow citizens of Disneyland. Bricky here with 21 questions for you regarding the return of After Dark events at the Disneyland Resort. Friends, Christmas isn't over and the new year hasn't even arrived, and Disneyland has already put on sale 2 After Dark events. Sweethearts Night will return for a grand total of 7 nights, and we will see the all-new Princess Night that will be here for 2 nights. A total of 9 different After Dark events already put into sale, and the new year is not even here yet. Question number 1, with 2 events already announced and the new year's not here yet, how many more of these should we anticipate over the course of 2023? And what can we learn from these first 2 that'll set the tone for the duration of the rest of the year? Number 2, one of the biggest things that surprises me is that the Sweethearts Night kicks off on January 31st. Friday, January 27th, just 4 days before the first Sweethearts Night, is when we will see the 100-year celebration kick off. You can already see that the fountains have been installed in the moat around Sleeping Beauty Castle. It does seem to me kind of crazy that Wondrous Journeys, that celebrates 100 years of the Disney Corporation, will be kicking off, and then dark just a few days later. Every Disney fan knows the huge crowds that a new fireworks show brings out, and a fireworks show themed around an anniversary just stacks magic on top of magic. So shutting it down 4 days later makes me wonder, will the new fireworks show only be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? And don't forget, one of the Sweetheart Nights overlaps on a Sunday night, so will the new fireworks show just be canceled on that evening? I believe the answer to that is yes, because Sweethearts Night boasts one of its offerings is its own fireworks show. So number 3, does this indicate that it's gonna be weekends only? So I think the new show we can detect is gonna be a weekend only event. If you're watching this video, the odds are you're probably a pretty hardcore Disney fan and you know the crowds that new fireworks shows bring out. So to cancel one for the after hours events, it just seems like a collision of ideas. Think about somebody who maybe is a hardcore fan that wanted to come out and spend a week at the resort to learn now that 2 of those nights, Disneyland, closed early for guests with a regular theme park admission. Now, question number 5 and 6 has all to do with people that have already pre-purchased tickets during these 9 different dates that span largely over the month of February. The casual theme park attendee that doesn't know about After Dark events and all of the ins and outs of how Disneyland works, in particular the guests that have already purchased single-day tickets for February 5th and February 16th. Each of those dates are the most expensive dates that have overlapped with the After Dark events. $144 for a single-day ticket, and that means that you have to leave the park somewhere in the 7 o'clock hour. But what about the lovers that are so busy loving that they don't have time to know every little thing that happens to Disneyland? Number 6, what about casual fans that already planned on coming here for Valentine's Day and may have already purchased a single-day ticket? I'm sure there are casual guests that pre-booked a February 14th Valentine's Day ticket to come out here with their special person, and they're going to be surprised that their $128 ticket gets them kicked out of Disneyland between 6 and 8 o'clock. But don't worry, lovers, you can upgrade for $60+ to finish your night off over at Disney's California Adventure. So one lesson I have learned as somebody who's been to a lot of the after-hour events, be very, very cautious of an event that only has 3 or less nights, because that means they don't have a huge budget to put on a lot of celebration for that particular event. Otherwise, the theme will be a little thin on delivery. And if you think about it from a business perspective, if you're only doing a few nights, you only have a little bit of budget to really deliver in whatever theme or experience you've promised to your guests. Princess Night only has 2 nights, so I would be very, very cautious about how much of a theme to anticipate, whereas Sweethearts Night has 7 different evenings. It's something they've done before, so I would expect that one has a bit of a higher theme. But the 1 or 2 events, anything under 3, always be cautious, because in my experience, they do not deliver on the promise of the theme. Now, if you're wondering what I mean by theme, I'm talking about, these events they deliver a certain promise. And the theme is how much money, how much resources do they put into making the park feel like that theme is something that is being celebrated park-wide. How many different installations, how many different experiences can you have that feel unique to that night? I think that when you buy a ticket for one of those events, if you're going based on theme, you're looking for an experience that you could only have at Disneyland during that evening. So when I talk about the theme, I'm literally talking about how much of that exists. Do you have to walk around and kind of try to figure out where it's at? Or does it just club you over the head because the theme is everywhere you look? I've been to some events where it was very, very hard to find, and others where it was very apparent that they had went hard and created an amazing fan experience. But it's not always that way. So word to the wise, pick the events properly. And I really do believe the amount of events is an indication of how much they're willing to spend. Look at Oogie Boogie Bash, where they do over 22 of those in Disney's California Adventure. That is by far the best after-hour event that they do, but they also have 22 nights of budget to create that experience. And speaking of theme, this is what I'm talking about, right? Little installations spread all around to make that evening just feel different, feel special, and for you to feel value. In the spirit of keeping all things fair, I have been very critical and said that this ride needs to be rethemed. My own personal opinion, I respect yours. I've also celebrated Magic Happens for being a very, very inclusive and diverse parade that Disneyland has needed. And I also was very excited about seeing Frederick Douglass added to the Abraham Lincoln story. So therefore, I'm gonna be fair on all my opinions and say that Princess Night is not a good name for an event because it does not include everyone. Take, for example, myself. There's no way I'm coming to an event called Princess Night. Now, maybe if it was Royalty Night or Prince and Princess Night, or if it's supposed to be the counterbalance to Villains Night, if it was Heroes and Heroines, that would feel more inclusive. So if I'm going to celebrate Disney for when they include everybody, I also have to call them out when they exclude somebody. And I think that this event's branding could be improved to include more people. That's my thought. Now, a super important date to keep in mind, Friday, January 27th is when Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway will open up in the doorway right behind me. Now, Toontown won't open up till the spring, but we will get that new e-ticket attraction on Friday 27th when the 100-year celebration kicks off. So my question for you is this: do these 9 After Dark events offer the opportunity for 9 different evenings to be able to come to the park and enjoy the new e-ticket attraction with very, very low to no wait times? Give you the ability to ride this new ride over and over again with a lot more ease than you'll get in any other day during that time of the calendar year. Runaway Railway will be Mickey Mouse's first ever themed attraction inside of Disneyland, and it will only be open for a few days when this party kicks off, giving you possibly an unbelievable experience to get to enjoy the new attraction with little to no hassle. I've been fortunate enough to enjoy the attraction several times out on the East Coast at Disney's Hollywood Studios, and let me tell you, it is awesome and it will live up to the hype. But can you position these after-hour events as a way to get a nice, easy way to enjoy the attraction with little to no hassle? As always with Disneyland, I like to look back at the past to try to better predict the future. Now, before I get you too hyped up on the idea that maybe these events would be the perfect way to enjoy a new e-ticket with minimal wait times, for historic record, when Rise of the Resistance had just opened up, even when they were doing a Star Wars themed event, they still didn't have the attraction scheduled to be open for the event. And for other events that did happen before the 2020 shutdown when Rise was open, those also, like 80s Night, did not have Rise. Now there could be a huge difference here. Rise requires a ton of maintenance every evening. It's the only attraction that shuts down before the park does every evening. So make sure you always get in line by 7 or 8 o'clock, because by 9 o'clock, it's done for the day, and that differs day to day. So with Mickey and Minnie not being such a complex attraction, could that not be the case? I'm gonna give it a coin toss. It could go either way, but probably, realistically, if we're following how things have been at the resort for the last little bit, the answer is probably No, which is horrible, because I think that it would be an amazing opportunity for people like, say, my wife, that don't enjoy long lines and all the hoopla that surrounds a new attraction at Disneyland. It'd be an amazing opportunity for some citizens of Disneyland to get to spend a little, to get a little peace of mind, and to get to enjoy the new attraction without so many hassles. And then for others of us, a new attraction is all about the sport, baby. So keep in mind that roughly 25% of the time this attraction's open over its first month plus, the park will close early, meaning that the demand for it during those regular days will be even greater. So kind of a weird time to launch such a signature attraction, 100-year anniversary, and also 9 nights where the park closes early. Not the end of the world, but just pointing this out gives people the ability to kind of stop and think before you get here and realize the park closes early, you promise your kids to ride the new attraction, and it all just goes wrong because simply you weren't informed on how that day was laid out. Make sure you always check the app or the website to see what time the park closes, to see if there's any surprises waiting for you, to possibly reschedule your next visit for the resort when the calendar is more suiting for you and your family's needs. With Disneyland closing early, you know what that means. People that have to leave Disneyland early but don't want to go home and want to keep the party rolling, they come over to Disney's California Adventure, which is going to be hosting its own 100th celebration nighttime show, World of Color 1, celebrating 100 years of the Disney Corporation. So for 9 nights, that show will be extremely packed. Those people that are excited to celebrate 100 years of Disney will be forced to come over to the World of Color 1 show. So therefore, 9 of those nights in the first 40 days expected to be extra busy, as this will be the only nighttime show for folks that do not have tickets for the after hours event, which out of the first month is roughly going to be 25% of its initial nighttime shows. But on the positive side, Disneyland during the day should theoretically sell less tickets because that it closes early. So if you are a pass holder, it could be a great day to show up, and know you got to leave early, but know that they're probably not going to sell that many tickets with their early closing time. So there's always a silver lining inside of all of these situations at events like this, sort of change the normal operating calendar day. Will these events make anything extra magical happen on a Magic Band? Would Disney actually go through the hassle of making the heartbeat on Sweethearts Night, or maybe getting some sort of pink or purple light up whenever you're around royalty? I doubt it. But if they did, it would show the ability to quickly take the Magic Band program at the West Coast and add more value to it. I don't think that they'll do it, but it would be magic if they did it, and we'd see a little bit more use of the Magic Band out on the West Coast, where it's far, far behind its East Coast origin. So will these events be worth it? That's up to you, because the value of a Disneyland dollar is literally different to every single guest. However, I would like to point out some of the extra offerings that they're having for these events. These are moments that typically you wouldn't be able to encounter in the park. I don't count the food, photography, or merchandise as part of the event. I mean, 2 out of the 3 of those require spending more money, and the photos, I think, just eat up way too much time to show true value. So what I'd like to show are some of the extra attractions or extra magic moments, little installations that you and your family can enjoy together, and things that you should only be able to see at these events.
We proudly invite you to
One of those is a grand entrance on the steps of the Main Street train station. It's going to be with Minnie Mouse and some trumpeters, but you know, you come into the park, you leave the park, and a lot of time over the last couple of years, they have used this area as a staging platform for various characters. So that one on Princess Night, I'm going to say is because we've seen things very similar. I'd love to see how above and beyond they go to make this entryway different than any other night exiting or entering the park. A Princess Jasmine and Aladdin themed dance is another thing that's offered over by It's a Small World. This is one of those things that I put down on the list of they can only do it when the park has a smaller attendance provided by an after hours event. These are the type of things that make me want to book the event, because once again, it's what I'm looking for. How is this After Dark event different than any other evening at the park? And even though I do not know what this particular event is, or there's also a concert, which they didn't give a location where you'll be able to hear Moana sing, I don't know where that one takes place, but those are those magic moments that I would look for when booking a trip. There's also another thing that I look for, but I'll share that with you at the end of today's video. Another offering that is very strikingly similar to things I've seen offered before is a dance party here in Tomorrowland. These tend to be aimed at a very young audience, very interactive, someone on the stage, a couple of characters, some cutout decorations, and the kids are encouraged to follow along with the same rhythm as the performers on the stage. You know, it is something that they do quite often at the park. I don't know how the Sweethearts Night could specialize it, and I also don't know who exactly that it skews to. Typically what happens here is skewed towards the youngest citizens of Disneyland, so you know, I wouldn't have my expectations super high if I was coming here on a couple's Sweetheart Night. Now, if it's a family Sweetheart Night, then you'd be in a good spot. But as far as couples go, unless they surprise us all, do something different, I would say that this might not be the best incentive to add on that extra ticket. Another one of the experiences is you get to see Tiana dancing in New Orleans Square, which sounds great, and that could be something that you could only pull off on a small attendance day. However, my concern is that Tiana will be up here on the Walt and Roy balcony, and everyone else will be down here on the street. So maybe not as interactive as they're leading you on to believe, but still could be a really amazing moment with a lower park attendance. And these are the types of things that they can really only pull off when they have a much quieter, emptier Disneyland. As with all the people in here, sometimes a lot of these experiences just aren't practical. So the after hours does give Disney the ability to reimagine and rethink the guest experience, because simply put, there's so many less guests here. There's also a fireworks show, but word to the wise, fireworks shows created for after dark events are normally pretty tamed down versions of fireworks shows, because it takes a lot of money to properly plan out an intense Disney level fireworks show. The one that they did for Star Wars Night, in my opinion, was just meh, and others I've seen have not come even close to the big spectaculars that we see that Imagineers and the pyro teams work on for months and months and months. Fireworks for Sweethearts Night, there will be some. You'll probably wish that it was the 100-year fireworks and not the ones that they have for Sweethearts Night. Just an honest take. And if you think about it mathematically, there's no way that they can ever provide a fireworks show at the same intensity for 7 nights of guests that they do for 700 nights plus of guests to enjoy some of these other fantastic shows like Disneyland Forever. Probably the best thing that comes with Sweethearts Night is the fact that you can ride the Mark Twain with the jazz band performing on it. They did this for Merriest Nights. It was my favorite part of that event. The projections on Main Street were my favorite part, but it was my second favorite part of the event, something I'd always wanted to experience. That is a really, really cool perk for that event. A Polynesian trio performing up on the rooftop here, once again, is another Merriest Nights experience. It was very, very cool to see. I enjoyed seeing the Poly trio playing holiday music up there, but if I'm being honest, it was just kind of like a walk by and say, yeah, that was cool. They did many other things during Merriest Nights that I believe added more value to the event than the performance here in Adventureland. How many lands will be open? How many attractions will be going? These are questions that we don't have answers to yet, but one of the best pieces of advice I can give you is think of using an after dark event that you maybe don't care about the theme as a way to experience the parks in a VIP nature where there's less people, less wait times. And if you compare the single day ticket price to some of these after dark event prices, it's actually a value when looking at ticket compared to ticket. So if you're not a Magic Key holder and you're somebody that wants a more intimate experience inside of Disneyland and you don't like large crowds, maybe these events are for you, even though the theme may not seem like it is something that was designed for you. If you want to see what that strategy looks like, check out this video right here where me and the gang bought tickets to a stupid event at DCA, but had an amazing time because we had the park all to ourselves. And my final 21st question, are you going?